welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to show you how to make my delicious vegan ginger nut biscuits from my new book, Gifts from Grandpa. Show you how to make my delicious ginger nut biscuits, but before I do, if you are new to my channel, then hello and welcome. It's lovely to have you here, and if you like these kind of videos and you want to see more, then I upload every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at 7 AM, so please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As I just mentioned, today I want to show you how to make my delicious ginger nut biscuits. Now this recipe is in my new cookbook, Gifts from Grandpa, which is available to buy on Amazon, and I will link this in the description box below for you, but it's also on my blog, Googie's Kitchen Life, and I will link the recipe in the description box below too. Now this recipe book has been written in loving memory of my dad. My dad was a fantastic cook, so what I've done is I've written lots of his recipes in this book. I've also written a few of my own and some of my grandparents as well. And my dad also believed that everybody should have a home. He always used to tell me wherever I was in the world I could always go home. So I've decided to donate £1 from the sale of each book to the homeless charity Crisis. Now, onto the ginger nut biscuits, and this is my recipe, and I wrote this with my aunt in mind. When we were children, my nan always used to take us to Switzerland, and I always remember she used to take my aunt like a bulk buy of ginger nut biscuits. My aunt is English and she moved to Switzerland with her husband, so she couldn't get things like ginger nuts, and she used to love them. So my nan would always take her some across. And then she discovered quite a few years ago now, like me, that she has a gluten allergy. So I thought, well, I'll try and make ginger nuts for my auntie and see how she likes them. But unfortunately I also found out that she also has an allergy to oats as well. So this recipe kind of failed, but my husband's son and I really love it. So I've kept it in the book with my auntie in mind, but we really enjoy eating this biscuit. So here is how to make my delicious ginger nut biscuits. The first thing I'm going to do is show the ingredients that I like to use in these. So as I said, these are gluten-free, and these ones are also vegan as well. So the first thing I like to use is oats, and I like to grind these in my food processor, and then I like to add ground almonds as well. That's to add a bit of sweetness and a bit of texture to the biscuit. And I also like to use brown rice flour. Brown rice flour, you don't actually have to use this. You could use plain flour if you wanted to. As I said, I use this because I'm gluten intolerant. And you can get this in a lot of supermarkets now. I have seen it in quite a few supermarkets. So yes, I use that just because I have a gluten intolerance, but if you don't, then you can use plain flour, as I said. I've also got baking powder, and that's to make them rise slightly. And I've also got 2 big tablespoons, massive, because my husband loves ginger, he's mad about it, of ginger, ground ginger. And then I've also got some coconut oil. You can use ghee, or you could use a vegan margarine as well, but I use coconut oil. And then I've also got cashew nut butter, and this is to add a bit of creaminess to the coconut oil to make it taste a bit more like butter. So yes, that's cashew nut butter. And then I've also got maple syrup, and that's obviously to add the sweetness. These I'm going to put in the food processor, and the wet ingredients I'm going to put on the hob, but I'll show you what I'm going to do with the dry ingredients first. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the oats into the food processor, and then I'm going to put the lid on around the right way, Alexis, and then just grind these. So I've ground those up, and then all I'm going to do is add the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to add the ground almonds, the brown rice flour, and then I've got the ground ginger to go in there, and I've also got the baking powder, and I'm going to grind those again. I'm going to mix these up in the food processor just because it's really easy. If you've only got a blender and you want to mix the rest in a bowl, that's fine, but I'm just finding this really easy to do it this way, so that's why I am. And that's all of those ingredients mixed together, and I'll put those in a mixing bowl, and I'll take you to the hob now. To the wet ingredients, and what I want to do is melt these down and make them into like a thick paste. So I'm just going to put them hob on to like a medium temperature, so probably about 5 or 6 on our hob. Obviously on different hobs it's going to be different, but I'm also going to add in my cashew nut butter now to the pan, and I'm going to add in the coconut oil, and then I'm going to also add in the maple syrup as well. And then I'm going to mix these together until they become like a paste. So you want to keep stirring this mix until most or all of the coconut oil has dissolved. It's a very cold day today in England, and the coconut oil isn't really dissolving that well, so I'm going to leave it there, but I think that's enough. Ready the wet ingredients to the dry ones, and it's formed sort of a dough ball, but it is a very wet mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some brown rice flour now, and I'll show you what to do next. Brown rice flour, and I've also got my cookie cutter and a rolling pin, and I've got my chopping boards ready. And what I'm going to do is just lightly dust the chopping board with some of the brown rice flour, and I'll probably dust I'm going to dust the rolling pin as well actually. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this, and I'm just going to roll it out like so, till it's probably about half an inch thick, I'd say. No, not half an inch, sorry. Oh, half an inch, that'd be thick biscuits, wouldn't it? Probably like ½ centimetre thick. That's enough, I think. And then I'm just going to start cutting the biscuits, and I put them onto the spare boards. I'm just going to get, sometimes it's a bit easier to use one of these as well. So I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to pick the biscuit up like that, and I'm going to put it over. So use a spatula as well. If the dough is a bit wet, then it's always good to use a spatula. And don't worry about the dough being too wet either, because we're going to put these in the fridge, so they will harden again. Move that out of the way. So yes, you just continue doing this until all of your dough has been used. So that's the trays of biscuits done, and I'm now going to put these in the fridge. As I said, I put these in the fridge to let them harden. But I also put them in the fridge because I find that if I refrigerate them before I bake them, they become that little bit extra crunchy, and that's what we love in this house. We love a crunchy biscuit. So while the biscuits are in the fridge, I'm just going to preheat the oven to about 180 degrees. So the oven is now preheated, and the biscuits have been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, so I'm just going to transfer them to the baking trays. And these baking trays are Pampered Chef baking trays. They're actual stone baking trays. So what happens is you put your food on these, and then the moisture, the bad moisture from the food absorbs into the stone, and you keep all the goodness in the food. So that's why I'm using these, because these also make the biscuits a bit more crunchy. Pampered Chef is like a cooking company. They no longer exist in the UK, unfortunately, but I'm sure if you look these up online, you'll be able to find something similar somewhere. If I can, I will try to link something similar in the description box below for you. But yes, so I'm just going to put these on here now. That's the biscuits on the baking trays. I'm going to put these in for about 10 to 15 minutes now, until they're like golden brown. On in the oven now for about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to leave them to cool. Left the biscuits to cool for about 10 minutes. They're still warm, but if you pull them off too early, they're probably still a bit soggy from the coconut oil, whereas if you tend to leave them on the baking trays, they harden as they're on here. So I'm just going to pull these off and put these onto a cooling rack. And that is the biscuits done then. So that's how you make my delicious vegan ginger nut biscuits. And again, that recipe is in my new cookbook, Gifts from Grandpa, which I will link in the description box below for you. And I will also link my blog and my blog post for this recipe in the description box below too. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below. What's your favourite type of biscuit? I'd love to know, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye. My hubby loves them so much.
Thank you very much.